Usually, we expect official history to just be written in stone, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like treaties are signed, borders are drawn, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. The diplomats smile for the cameras, and the past just stays quiet. But what happens when a border patrol intercepts a crippled civilian ship out in deep space?
And they find something that completely upends all of that.
Right. They find this terrified teenager guarding a biometric black box, a box that practically proves an entire, peaceful interstellar treaty is just a complete lie.
It's wild. It's just wild to see the actual mechanics of it.
It really is. So today, for you listening, we are opening up a stack of highly classified Starfleet operational logs. We're tracking a shadow war that, it didn't start with a barrage of photon torpedoes.
No, not at all. It started with paperwork.
And for this deep dive, we are pulling directly from the personal mission logs of 3 key figures.
Which is such a rare look behind the curtain for us.
It really is. We have Vice Admiral Sidra MacLaren, Commander Neris Jovan, and Captain Ho'Rey'So Rucker. These sources document the sudden violent awakening of a buried political conflict in the Epsilon Fleet Patrol corridor.
And I think for you listening, this deep dive is essentially a masterclass in how massive, catastrophic historical crises actually begin.
Right, because they don't usually start with grand declarations of war.
Exactly. They rarely start that way. They start with tiny, easily overlooked fragments, like a transponder that lags just 3 seconds behind its stated position.
Oh, or a clipped distress call that sounds like someone recorded it with a hand over their mouth.
Yes. Or just a minor bureaucratic anomaly. If you have ever tried to navigate a labyrinth of corporate bureaucracy, you know how this feels.
Oh, man, don't even get me started on corporate bureaucracy.
Right. But if you've ever had to piece together the actual truth from conflicting official information, you will find this entire sequence of events incredibly relatable.
Albeit with, starships and phasers and warp drives.
Well, yeah, slightly higher stakes than a missing email.
Just a bit. Okay, so let's unpack this. We start out aboard the USS Ironwood.
Right, which is Commander Jovan's ship.
Yeah, this is a Sabre II-class patrol frigate commanded by Neris Jovan. And our sources make a really big point to emphasize that this is not some grand diplomatic flagship.
Oh, no. It's compact, it's fast, and it is built for hard border work.
Exactly. And Jovan is standing near his command chair because apparently he only sits if he intends to stay there when they intercept a distress call.
From a civilian courier vessel called the Mourning Dove.
Yeah, the Mourning Dove. So when the Ironwood arrives on the scene, what exactly are they looking at on the sensors?
Okay, so the telemetry paints an incredibly grim picture right out of the gate. The Mourning Dove is missing its filed vector by about 11 million kilometers.
11 million. That is not a small navigation error.
No, it's way off course. And it's bleeding velocity rapidly. The logs detail that its starboard nacelle is just completely dark.
Just totally offline.
Totally offline. And it is actively venting these silver streamers of atmosphere right into the vacuum of space.
Which is terrifying. And the reason for this catastrophic damage is that it's actively taking fire, right?
Yes. From an unidentified second contact, it's this masked ship running completely without transponders.
Okay, wait, hold on. I need to stop you here. They have military-grade hardware, right? This masked ship.
Oh, absolutely. Heavy-duty stuff.
So why are they just venting the courier's atmosphere? I mean, it's like a highway patrol car pulling over to help a broken-down minivan, only to find a corporate black ops team using military hardware to run them off the road.
That is a perfect analogy, actually.
But if this masked ship has superior firepower, they could just vape the courier into space dust in like 2 seconds. Why not just blow it to pieces and sift through the wreckage for whatever they want?
Well, what's fascinating here is the precise mechanics of the violence. It wasn't random.
What do you mean?
When the Ironwood's tactical officer, Lieutenant Seren, analyzes the situation, he notices something weird. The masked ship's power curve is far too disciplined.
Disciplined? Like they're holding back.
Exactly. The weapons residue and the targeting profile show that the plasma strikes were calculated down to the decimal point.
Wow.
Yeah, they were placed explicitly to disable the drive control and the aft shielding, but intentionally leave the life support grid completely intact.
Oh, I see. So to do that on a moving target requires incredibly sophisticated targeting algorithm.
Right. They were basically shepherding the courier. They were boxing it in.
So this wasn't just a pirate raid looking for cargo.
No. They need someone alive.
That level of surgical precision is just terrifying. So Jovan opens a channel, and demands the masked ship power down.
And the response he gets is just as calculated as their weapons fire.
Yeah, the logs say a distorted, filtered voice comes over the comms, and they claim this is a lawful recovery action.
A lawful recovery action. Just think about that phrasing.
Right. They state the passenger aboard the civilian courier is subject to internal civil authority.
It is a brilliant, chilling tactic. They are attempting to weaponize legal vocabulary right in the middle of a firefight.
Which is so bizarre to think about.
But they know what they're doing. They know a Starfleet officer is bound by strict rules of engagement regarding internal planetary disputes.
Oh, of course. The Prime Directive and all that internal jurisdiction stuff.
Exactly. So by using phrases like lawful recovery and civil authority, they are trying to trigger Jovan's procedural hesitation.
They want him to stop and think.
Right. They want him to pause and consult a rulebook, giving them enough time to finish the job. It just shows that not all threats come dressed as threats.
Sometimes they arrive with exceptionally clean, bureaucratic language wrapped around the barrel of a plasma bank.
Perfectly said. But Jovan doesn't even blink.
I love this part. He tells them they made it Starfleet's concern the literal second they fired on a civilian ship in a Federation patrol corridor.
He is not playing their game.
Not at all. So the masked ship then tries to escalate the psychological pressure. They actually use his name.
Which is a huge red flag.
Yeah. They say, Commander Jovan, you are placing your ship between this matter and its lawful resolution.
Doing that confirms they have immediate access to Starfleet personnel databases.
Right. They just pulled his file in seconds.
Yeah. They are projecting confidence and deep, deep intelligence capabilities. But they exhibit terrible judgment regarding Neris Jovan's psychology.
This is so terrible. Jovan doesn't even bother muting the channel. He just looks at his tactical officer and calmly orders him to lock weapons.
I love that detail so much.
Just boom, locked on. The masked ship runs the tactical calculus, realizes the Ironwood is absolutely willing to trade fire, and they flee.
But they don't just warp away normally.
No, the logs say they drop sensor ghosts.
Oh.
How exactly does a ship just vanish like that in open space?
So it is a highly advanced countermeasure. They don't just, turn invisible.
Okay.
They deploy these microprobes that flood the Ironwood's passive sensors with false gravitational and subspace signatures.
Oh, wow.
Basically, they make the Ironwood's targeting computer hallucinate. It thinks there are suddenly 5 different ships warping away in 5 entirely different directions.
That is wild. So by the time the computer filters out the noise and identifies the real warp trail, the masked ship is just gone.
Exactly. Leaving the Ironwood alone in the dark with a crippled civilian courier.
And it gets worse because the transporters are failing. There's residual pattern distortion from the attack, so they can't beam anyone out.
You have to do the old-fashioned way.
Right, they have to physically dock. So Commander Vey takes a boarding party over to the Mourning Dove, and the logs say it's just a mess in there.
Yeah, it's brutal. They find 2 crew members dead near the cockpit.
But what do they find when they start pulling the ship's data and, searching the rest of the vessel?
Well, the digital forensics are honestly just as morbid as the physical scene. Vey's team pulls the passenger manifest.
Okay, what's on it?
It lists 1 private passenger under the name Sarel Venn. There is no species marker and no point of origin listed.
Which is already suspicious.
Very. But the critical mechanical detail is that the manifest file hasn't just been altered. It has been aggressively overwritten 3 separate times.
3 times?
Yeah, using a deep scrub algorithm. Standard civilian booking software simply doesn't function that way.
Right, you might delete a name or cancel a ticket, but you don't use military-grade data wiping protocols on a booking form.
Exactly. You don't do that unless you are desperately trying to hide a massive digital footprint.
Okay, so Vey's team continues toward the aft of the ship, and they find a single survivor.
Barricaded inside a sealed compartment.
Right. And the visual description from the logs is so striking. They find this young Tarethani male.
And he is in bad shape.
Really bad. He's severely injured, plasma burns, smoke inhalation, a possible rib fracture. But he is wearing what used to be formal clothing.
Yeah, dark fabric with copper geometric accents, though the collar is completely scorched from the fire. Now imagine you are this boarding party for a second, right? You just pulled a kid out of a smoking, irradiated room.
You would expect him to be screaming for a medic.
Exactly, or just completely catatonic from shock. But his composure is absolute ice.
It's chilling.
He isn't acting like a typical rescued civilian at all. He actually refuses to leave the compartment.
Because he is guarding something.
Yes.
The logs describe it as a black stone or composite object, about the size of a standard pad, laced with copper veining.
It's a sealed archive, and it operates on a biometric contact surface.
Okay, can we explain how that locking mechanism actually works? Because it highlights the stakes perfectly. It's not just a fingerprint scanner, right?
No, not at all. A biometric contact surface reads subdermal vascular patterns, genetic resonance, and real-time microelectrical impulses.
Wow. Okay, so you can't just, like, cut off someone's hand to open the box.
Exactly. The intended recipient must be alive, conscious, and biologically verified by the device's internal computer to access the data inside.
And this young man, who eventually identifies himself as Seren, has one incredibly specific demand.
He flat out refuses to speak to Commander Jovan.
Right. He states he will only surrender the object to Vice Admiral Sidra MacLaren. His exact words are, "No one else."
No one else. To understand the sheer gravity of that demand, we really have to look at the outer metadata of that sealed archive.
Because the Ironwood's computers managed to read just the passive outer shell, right?
Right, specifically the unencrypted subject line. And it reads, Tareth-Kal Custodial Continuance File.
And the computer immediately flags it as a restricted historical reference. The logs note that the bridge gets very, very quiet when that happens.
As it should. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to understand the political mechanics of Tareth-Kal.
Okay, fill us in.
According to the Public Federation history, Tareth-Kal represents a failed constitutional order. Decades ago, there was regional violence, followed by massive Federation diplomatic mediation.
Right, they stepped in to stop the fighting.
Yeah, and it ended with a comprehensive treaty. It is the exact kind of settlement that diplomats sitting in comfortable offices light years away call a resounding success.
I sense a but coming.
But the structural reality was entirely different. The treaty essentially drew arbitrary lines on a map, severing the agricultural zones from the industrial hubs.
Oh, that is a recipe for disaster.
It was. It forced millions of refugees to relocate and functionally starved half the population under the guise of an economic restructuring.
And yet the official record considers it a brilliantly healed wound.
Exactly. But Jovan realizes immediately that nobody hunts a passenger across a patrol corridor with Black Ops hardware over a successfully settled history.
No way. This file and this boy represent a raw, bleeding wound that the official diplomatic record claims doesn't exist anymore.
Right, and Seren looks Jovan in the eye and says, "You will not return me."
Yeah, he admits he knows he doesn't hold the rank to decide if Starfleet hands him over to diplomatic affairs, but he refuses to release the box.
It is the sound of someone holding a locked door for just one more minute against a hurricane.
That's a great way to put it. And Jovan doesn't argue. He promises the boy that until Admiral MacLaren explicitly says otherwise, he is under the absolute protection of Epsilon Fleet.
Good for Jovan.
Yeah. They secure Seren in sickbay. They deliberately do not scan the box. And they set a direct course for Starbase 369.
And then Jovan sends that highly encrypted, restricted distribution subspace message directly to Vice Admiral MacLaren's desk.
Yes. And this transition in the source material is jarring in the best way possible.
It really is.
We jump from this tense life-or-death standoff in the patrol corridor to Starbase 369. And Vice Admiral Sidra MacLaren is enduring what sounds like the most mind-numbing logistics briefing in the history of Starfleet.
The contrast is just amazing. It highlights the bizarre dual nature of command. Out on the frontier, you have blood, plasma burns, and shadow ships.
And back at the base, you have Commander Darnan.
Projecting logistical bottlenecks at Relay Junction 12.
Darnan literally has 3 pads, 12 supporting appendices, and an absolutely punishing number of color-coded arrows.
It sounds like a nightmare.
He is trying to explain the routing efficiency of geranium replacement allotments. It's so tedious. The logs say MacLaren's espresso is going cold on her desk, while she tries to get him to just summarize the actual structural risk to the station.
Then Quinn Lyra, who is MacLaren's aide, interrupts the briefing.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and she doesn't hover or wait for a polite pause. She knows MacLaren values useful timing over bureaucratic theatrics. She brings in Jovan's priority encrypted message.
So MacLaren watches the playback, Jovan reports the attack, the young Tarethani boy, the false documentation, and then the kicker.
The boy asks for Vice Admiral MacLaren by name, no one else.
The sources state MacLaren has this fascinating internal rule. In her experience, when a frightened stranger asks for an admiral by name, It means one of three things.
Yeah, none of them are good.
Exactly. They were given careful instructions, they were given dangerous lies, or someone died before giving them the rest of the message.
She doesn't feel flattered by the request at all. She feels the immense tactical gravity of the situation immediately. As soon as she hears the metadata tag Tareth-Kal, she knows the past has not stayed where the diplomats filed it.
But here's a critical moment where her actions seem incredibly drastic to me. MacLaren immediately orders the archive locked down.
Total lockdown.
She explicitly orders that no one opens it, no one copies it, no scans beyond basic safety checks. And critically, she orders that absolutely no word of this is forwarded to diplomatic affairs.
Which is a huge call to make.
Right. Why is she so paranoid about her own side's diplomats? Why not loop in the people who actually mediate these treaties?
She bypasses them because of a smoking gun that arrives just moments later.
Okay, tell us about that.
3 minutes after Jovan's encrypted transmission reaches FleetOx, Lyra reports an incoming diplomatic inquiry on the official Protectorate channel.
3 minutes.
Yes. The inquiry is incredibly polite. It formally asks for confirmation that Epsilon Fleet has recovered a citizen from an unauthorized transport incident.
Just 3 minutes later, that's absurd.
Exactly. 3 minutes is physically impossible for a genuine reaction due to the mechanics of interstellar bureaucracy.
Right, think about the subspace routing protocols alone.
An event happens light years away. The report is encrypted, routed through relay stations, and sent to a restricted military desk.
Right.
For a foreign diplomatic body to process that event, draft an official inquiry, format it properly according to Federation standards, and transmit it through official civilian channels. I mean, that takes hours, if not days, of committee work and legal review.
It's like getting a massive corporate copyright takedown notice on a video 3 seconds after you recorded it on your phone.
That is the perfect analogy.
It means your device was already compromised, and the legal team was just waiting for you to hit record.
Yes. They weren't reacting to Jovan's report. They were waiting for it. They already had the paperwork drafted, signed, and queued up before the Mourning Dove was ever intercepted.
Wow.
This proves definitively that the lawful recovery wasn't a sudden border incident. It was a pre-planned, highly coordinated shadow operation.
They intended to quietly capture Seren.
And the bureaucratic gears were already turning to ensure that if Starfleet accidentally got involved, there was immediate, immense legal pressure to hand him over quietly.
They were actively trying to sweep him under the rug using diplomatic protocol as a weapon.
Bureaucracy as a shadow war.
It's terrifying. But MacLaren sees right through the timeline. She realizes the buried world hasn't reached her desk yet, but its enemies already have.
So she tells Quinn to log the receipt of the inquiry and completely ignore it.
Do not answer a single channel.
Right. And she orders every file, every treaty, and every dissolution article on Tareth-Kal pulled directly to her desk. And she explicitly bypasses all executive summaries.
She wants the raw, unfiltered record.
Concurrently, she makes a critical tactical decision. She opens a direct, secure channel to Captain Ho'Rey'So Rucker,
the commanding officer of the USS Caelestis. Now, the Caelestis is not a nimble little patrol frigate like the Ironwood.
No. It is a massive Ross-class strategic command cruiser. It's a flying fortress.
And Captain Rucker is this towering figure. 6 feet 8 inches, Klingon brow, close-cropped hair. The logs note his command presence is so intense, he actually has to consciously soften his posture so normal people can function around him.
Which I just find hilarious. But the underlying dynamic between Rucker and MacLaren is vital context here.
Yeah, they have a lot of history.
The logs detail their shared past. They served together as young officers on the USS Archer. They were forged in the fires of past border wars, managing evacuation routes and drafting casualty lists.
So they trust each other implicitly.
Exactly. They understand each other's operational rhythms on a level that transcends their current ranks. When MacLaren calls him and simply says she needs the Caelestis underway immediately, Rucker doesn't ask for a threat assessment.
He doesn't ask if it can wait until morning.
Nope. He reads the tone of her voice. He knows that she is entirely too calm. It is the specific calm of an officer who has just seen a knife in the dark.
He asks her how ugly the situation is, and she just says one word, Tareth-Kal.
And Rucker doesn't swear, but the logs note that his silence is exactly how MacLaren knows he understands the catastrophic implications.
The Caelestis immediately drops its moorings and warps out to meet the Ironwood. En route, Rucker reviews the tactical playback of the masked ship's attack on the courier.
And he comes to the exact same conclusion regarding the disciplined power curve.
Yeah, he watches the masked ship carefully box in the courier. He notes they could have easily boarded under fire if they wanted speed, or simply destroyed the ship and sifted the wreckage.
Rucker's assessment is incredibly sharp. He says, pirates are greedy, this was careful.
And careful has a sponsor. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Rucker opens a channel to Jovan on the Ironwood.
Right.
Jovan explains that Seren is stable, completely exhausted, but refusing to let the sealed archive out of his reach. Rucker asks to see the boy, so Jovan sends over a live feed from sickbay.
And Rucker looks at this young, battered kid guarding this biometric box.
And Rucker observes that Seren looks precisely like someone following instructions.
It is a profound psychological observation. Seren isn't just a random victim of circumstance, right? He is an active, disciplined participant in a deeply coordinated plan.
Yeah.
As Rucker notes, to hold out like this, the boy is either very brave, very frightened, or very well instructed.
And the reality is likely a combination of all three. But as they are having this conversation, the tension suddenly spikes again.
Right, the ghost in the dark returns.
As the massive Caelestis is closing into rendezvous with the tiny Ironwood, Lieutenant Thane Rucker's tactical officer picks up a faint, intermittent contact on passive sensors.
Along their aft port vector?
Yeah, it's at extreme range. It isn't maintaining a consistent sensor profile. It's a ghost.
It's present for 2 pulses, absent for 3. Just enough data to severely irritate a good tactical officer.
It's the masked ship, or one of its heavily armed friends, just watching them from the void.
Which raises an important question, right? Did sending a massive strategic command cruiser actually de-escalate the situation, or did it just force this shadow faction to change their tactics and stalk them from the dark?
That is the crucial tension of this entire operation. Deterrence is ultimately a psychological game. Rucker knows they are being watched.
But he doesn't order a target lock, because that would validate the shadow ship's presence and potentially trigger a messy engagement.
Instead, he uses the sheer physical mass and reputation of his cruiser as the weapon. Let's explain the physical mechanics of what he does next, because it's brilliant.
Yes, let's. He tells his helm to adjust course and literally physically maneuver the massive Caelestis between the Ironwood and that faint ghost contact.
Which does what, exactly?
Well, our Ross-class cruiser emits a massive warp field shadow and a dense sensor profile. By parking his cruiser directly across their line of sight, Rucker doesn't just block their physical view.
Right.
He creates a localized sensor blackout zone. He blinds the stealth ship's passive sensors with his own ship's massive energy output.
Wow.
He dares them to step out of the shadows, power up their active scanners, and do something about it.
He casually remarks, some people become very shy when the lights come on. I mean, it is a brilliant tactical flex.
It really is.
He doesn't fire a single shot, but he completely neutralizes the threat just by changing the geometry and the physics of the space.
And it works. The contact fades.
The shadow ship realizes the window for a quiet, deniable recovery action is permanently closed.
Yeah, they are no longer dealing with a lone frigate. They are dealing with a fully shielded command cruiser operating on a defensive posture.
The Caelestis assumes a tight escort position, and Rucker tells Jovan they are going to walk them home.
And the logs end with Rucker sending a final encrypted burst to MacLaren, confirming they have the boy, they have the box, and they are proceeding to Starbase 369 under heavy guard.
So what does this all mean? Let's take a step back and look at the whole picture. We have a young boy, Seren, who is carrying the literal, physical secrets of a buried world. We have a highly organized, heavily funded shadow faction that was willing to kill and perfectly willing to manipulate the Federation's legal and diplomatic systems just to get that archive back before it could ever be opened.
And standing in their way, we have a Starfleet admiral and 2 captains who recognize that the official sanitized history is a lie.
And they're willing to put their careers and their ships on the line to ensure the truth actually reaches the light.
I think the most vital takeaway here is a powerful reminder that history is never entirely written. We tend to think of the past as concrete, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But it is always being actively managed, suppressed, or rewritten by whoever survived to file the paperwork. This deep dive into the sources shows us that sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the universe isn't a photon torpedo or a masked warship.
It is a sealed archive.
Exactly. And it is the polished, polite, legal paperwork waiting in a diplomat's inbox, specifically designed to suppress that archive before anyone can even read it.
We spent this whole time looking at how a shadow faction weaponized bureaucracy. But look at MacLaren and Rucker.
Right, they didn't exactly play by the rules either.
No. They bypassed official diplomatic channels, they hit a political refugee, and they used a strategic warship to actively intimidate a foreign asset, all entirely off the official books.
It's true.
It leaves you with a really uncomfortable question to mull over. When the official legal system is completely compromised, and the diplomatic treaties are built on lies, at what point do the good guys have to act like a rogue state just to do the right thing?
That is a very heavy thought to leave on.
It is, but it's what the sources give us. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Epsilon Fleet sources. It has been a wild ride. Keep your eyes open, keep looking for the fragments in the dark, and always keep questioning the official records in your own world. Until next time.